Well, the script was written by Mark Steensland. So he had written it years ago, and it had won a screenplay contest at an LA horror film festival, and they sent it on to Barbara Crampton. So I can't speak to what the inspiration for the original idea was, but when I got involved, I was very inspired by Barbara Crampton herself, and just the fact that she was stepping into making movies as a producer now, as well as a lead actor, was really exciting. And so I was really inspired to do everything I could to help her be successful in that. Yeah, that was the goal, is with any horror movie that is, a subgenre, like a vampire movie where there have been so many, you want to try your best to do something new, to sort of move the subgenre forward and show the audience some things they haven't seen before, or maybe they don't expect. And in this particular story, the fact that we're using the vampire as an allegory for a woman rediscovering her own voice allowed us to do a lot of different things with the master character and some of the supporting characters. So yeah, it's the hope and the goal is to do something new with it, and something that has value, has emotional value to the audience, where the audience goes, oh, I feel this. For vampire movies, and I've said this in other interviews, Abel Ferrara's The Addiction, Bill Gunn's Ganja and Hess, Richard Banks' Vamp, Daughters of Darkness. I mean, there are so many that we just pulled little flourishes from. But another big influence was A Woman Under the Influence.
Conservative.
Yeah. And the idea being, we wanted this movie to show a married couple who are dealing with some changes in their relationship. And for both Barbara Crampton and Larry Fessenden, I mean, these are actors who are really well known in horror movies, but we wanted to give them a chance to do some acting that's a little bit different in this movie. And so for the cast and the crew, I pointed people to A Woman Under the Influence, or Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, or An Unmarried Woman, as examples of a type of acting and a type of filmmaking that we were trying to capture. So this sort of mashup of two very different genres. Well, Larry Fessenden is a filmmaker himself and is very good at making horror films that feel really authentic and grounded. He had made a vampire movie in the 90s called Habit. That is a great example of how you tell a wild story in a very grounded, believable way. The three of us had worked together on a movie called We Are Still Here. So there was a comfort and a friendship there already. And because this couple has been married for 30 years, it seemed important to cast somebody that the lead actress would be comfortable with. And it saved us a lot of time. We didn't have to get to know each other. We already knew each other, and then we could move on to the next stage. We had a lot of conversations, and I would send them surveys asking them questions about the last 30 years of their characters' lives.
Oh.
Who was their first date? Who was the first person they made love to? Who was the last president they voted for? Really just a way to sort of, for the actors to get in touch with what the last 30 years of their lives looked like. Where did they go to school? What was their first job? And even if the answers didn't show up in the movie, the actors had a much stronger backstory to draw on. And the three of us would have conversations comparing answers and working out that story. And then during filming, I created a set where the actors had room to improv, to go a little bit deeper, to be a little looser, so that maybe we could find something even better than what was on the page. It's good. David Matthews is a local DOP in the town we shot in or nearby. I had never worked with him before. So you establish a communication and it evolves and you get better at it as the movie goes on. So.
But there was a kind of shot list before, or it was on the location that you decide about a shot that you want to have?
There had been a shot list that did not really work for the movie. So a lot of the work was done on location and really redesigning what the approach was going to be. I actually like them to be artificial, and I would have liked to go even further into artificial. For me, the horror films I feel the most as I'm watching them, the ones that I get most emotionally involved with, are from the 70s and 80s, where all of the sound design was just Foley. You know, there was no atmosphere. It's just a very quiet movie where you hear every footstep and you hear the actor's breath, and it creates this real exaggerated sense. So I think a lot of modern filmmaking, because we have the computers, it's very easy to just layer in tons and tons of sounds. And I think it's better to strip it out to the less. That's just my personal feeling. So that was what I was pushing everybody to do, was to remove as much as they can, so that what remained would have a bigger impact. We finished 4 days before the country went into lockdown. So we were filming at the very beginning of it.
And how long was the shooting?
It was originally a 22-day shoot, but we kept getting hit with rain, with storms, monsoons and stuff. I'm not sure if we ended up doing a full 22 days or not. You know, typical indie film shoot.
And in terms of financing, how was it done? It was private equity or it was public?
Yes, we worked with the company AMP Films out of the UK, who is a sales and production company. So they did a great job. South by Southwest, it went great. We feel very fortunate that we even had a film festival premiere during a pandemic.
Yeah,
they did a great job with the digital edition of their festival. The film was seen by a lot of people and critics, and Rotten Tomatoes was certified fresh. We feel very lucky, and the movie came out here in the States this weekend.
And how was the experience of not being able to be at the theater and to hear or to see people's reaction in the face? Was it very hard, or was it?
It's definitely different, and you miss it because that feedback tells you what's working and what isn't.
Mm.
So now I just have to rely on the internet for people to get that information. Not on the distribution. I mean, the distribution, it's pretty much the same. There in the States, theaters are starting to open back up. So the movie is in I believe 100 movie theaters and drive-ins. It definitely impacted post-production.
Yeah.
We weren't able to work together in the same space as much as you normally would. So a lot of the work was done over Zoom, which is not ideal for post-production.
Mm-hmm. And so you mean that it was making things difficult for sound design or music? How did you try to do those things with the Zoom? Was it just go and forth between you and sound designer? So you
just Google spreadsheets and links and just lots of notes and trying to communicate clearly.
Mhm. And my last question is about your future. Are you started to work on a new project? What is your plan for the future?
There's a new project that is out there in the world, knocking on people's doors, and we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
yes, I would like to continue making horror films, and hopefully that'll happen.